Double HIMARS strike. Reports confirm two recent Ukrainian HIMARS attacks. On October 30th, a strike hit a unit of Russia's 104th Air Assault Regiment of the 76th Division, Pskov region, near Skadovsk, Kherson region, using two missiles. The attack resulted in 11 soldiers killed and 14 wounded. On November 1st, around 5 a.m., a second strike targeted an S-300 or 400 SAM crew near Mospine, Donetsk region, with 6 ATAK-EMS missiles, 3 intercepted. This strike resulted in 2 killed and 12 wounded, with equipment damage still being verified. In an effort to stop further attacks on oil depots in Feodosia, occupied Crimea, Russians have installed a Panzer S-1 air defense system. In a recent attack in Feodosia, an oil depot was hit, after which it burned for several days and led to more than a dozen damaged or destroyed oil tanks. Soldiers of the Rayrog Unmanned Systems Battalion of the 24th Mechanized Brigade destroyed two S-9 Nona self-propelled mortars. During the week, the Rayrog Unmanned Systems Battalion used FPV drones to destroy two S-9 Nona self-propelled mortars in the Donetsk region. In addition, a D-74 120mm cannon and a M46 130mm long-range cannon were destroyed. The invaders' communications equipment, vehicles, motorized equipment, and personnel were also destroyed. The 2 S-9 Nona self-propelled mortar is designed to provide direct fire support to airborne troops on the battlefield. The primary weapon is a 120mm mortar gun. It is capable of conducting targeted fire without prior preparation from indirect fire positions and direct fire. It can use mortar rounds and 120mm artillery shells. The D-74 is a Soviet towed gun of the Artillery Corps, which was adopted by the USSR Armed Forces in 1956. The gun was developed by OKB-9 in 1947 to 1950 and was intended to replace the 1931/37 122mm guns in the Corps artillery. Serial production of the D-74 began in 1955, and the Army accepted the first production guns in 1956. Between the 1960s and 1970s, almost all D-74s were withdrawn from Soviet arsenals and transferred to the Middle East and Asia. The militaries of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Vietnam, China, and Algeria actively use D-74s. According to open sources, they are in the arsenals of Zimbabwe, Mauritania, Nigeria, and Sudan, and were in service in Iraq, Egypt, and several other countries. Given these facts, it can be assumed that the Russians had basically a handful of D-74s left and decided to put them back into service with the support of their partners. The Soviet M46 is a long-range 130mm towed gun designed to destroy earthworks, combat enemy artillery, armored vehicles, and mortars, and suppress enemy manpower. The maximum firing range of conventional high-explosive fragmentation shells is over 27 kilometers, and with the use of rocket-assisted ammunition, it is 37 kilometers. After facing significant criticism for not supplying Ukraine with weapons, particularly for withholding decommissioned arms, Australia is turning over a new leaf. Australia has transferred JDAM-ER to Ukraine after they had been decommissioned by the Royal Australian Air Force. This was reported by Australian Defence, an Australian specialised publication citing its own sources. The Guided Weapons and Munitions Plan, released on October 30th, states that Australia decommissioned JDAM-ER kits in 2021, along with the retirement of FA-18AB Hornet aircraft. The publication, citing its own sources, claims that at least some of these kits were later transferred to Ukraine as part of military assistance. However, it is not known when exactly and in what quantity the transfer to Ukraine took place. The use of the JDAM-ER in Ukraine was first reported in March 2023, but the weapon was supplied by the United States. Only in April 2024, Australia announced that it had supplied unspecified air-to-ground munitions to Ukraine. We were also able to announce today that we have provided Ukraine with precision air-to-ground munitions, Defense Minister Richard Marles said during a visit to Ukraine in April 2024. In July 2024, the Department of Defense announced a further transfer of unspecified air-to-ground weapons as part of a $250 million aid package. JDAMs are GPS-based equipment kits that transform simple free-fall bombs into all-weather precision-guided munitions. The kit includes an inertial navigation system and a GPS receiver to improve accuracy, as well as the small wings attached to the middle of the bomb and a tail unit that has the steerable feathers that allow the bomb to adjust its course as it flies toward its target. The unit contains navigation and other equipment. The ER, extended range version, adds a set of wings that allows the bomb to glide to the target, increasing the range of the bomb. When launched from a high altitude, the range of targets is up to 72.4 kilometers. The JDAM ER planning kit was developed by the Defense Science and Technology Group in the early 2000s in cooperation with Boeing and Australian Farah Engineering. Farah Engineering currently manufactures the kit under an agreement with Boeing that expires in 2028. And Lockheed Martin Australia plans to produce 4,000 GMLRS missiles per year for HIMARS launchers. In a report for the Australian government, it was stated that this would be more than a quarter of the current global production. This was made possible by a $37.4 million contract with Lockheed Martin Australia. According to this agreement, the first batch of GMLRS missiles will be manufactured in Australia, which will be an important step towards creating a domestic capability to produce the high-precision missiles. The first batch of GMLRS missiles will be produced in Australia in 2025. The contract includes the transfer of important technologies from the United States that are necessary for the production of GMLRS. Lockheed Martin Australia and Thales Australia have also agreed to develop the solid rocket engines for the GMLRS projectiles. The cooperation will also assess the possibility of designing, developing, and manufacturing various GMLRS components. In addition, the agreement will lay the basis for the engineer certification processes and the development of the technical skills for Australian workers. Australia will also acquire precision strike missiles, which are capable of hitting targets up to 500 kilometers away.